Monday. So good to be with you. It's Monday, March 6, 2023. Welcome to the program Agenda. We are broadcasting live from Lipa City, Batangas, and malamig po. At 6:30 this morning, the temperature here was 20 degrees, and our friends in the UK could not believe it. Our Filipino friends in the UK were saying, ano? 20 degrees dyan in March? Yes, it's cold here, and from what I've heard, even friends in Metro Manila are saying that Metro Manila has been cool this weekend. So let's enjoy it, because after a few weeks, sigurado, summer na naman tayo. While a lot of people will be hitting the beach, a lot of people will be hiding in air-conditioned room. But let's not spoil the week, the beginning of the week, Monday, and let's get on with our daily starter from the second chapter, second verse of the book of Habakkuk from the Bible. And it goes, write the vision, make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it. Okay, in case you're wondering, Cito, ano ba yan? Write the vision, make it plain. If you are a Facebook type of person, you like to listen to motivational speakers, etc., a lot of the celebrities keep talking about vision boards or writing your plans, your wish, your goals on a tablet, on a piece of paper, on a wall if you want to. But the point is to write down what your plans are, what your goals are, or even for this week, what is your plan for the week, or what are your plans for the week, and what is your to-do list. Okay, so this vision board or writing it down is based on that chapter, on the second chapter of the book of Habakkuk, where God tells Habakkuk the prophet, isulat mo sa papel, sa bato kung kailangan, para pag nakabasa, madaling maintindihan. Make it plain. Make it simple. So many companies start the year with their mission, vision for the year, and you should have your own mission, vision, vision board, and your goals for the year. So yun po, no? That's the best way to start your day, start your week, or even go through the third month of the year with a vision board. So yun po. Okay, now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline is, Suspect Killed, 3 nabbed in Governor's Assassination. Okay, meanwhile, the subheading is, Death Toll in Negros Oriental Attack rises to 9. A suspect in the assassination of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo was killed during the hot pursuit operations, according to police officials, while 3 other suspects have been arrested. And the big photo on the front page is the array of high-powered assault rifles, meron pang mga laser scope, etc., that were confiscated from the attackers. Unfortunately, not only the governor was killed, but 9 other people have died because of that violent, very public attack. At the top of the front page, no stopping jeepney strike, PNP on alert. An estimated 100,000 jeepney drivers, operators nationwide claim they will carry on with the strike this week, and most of this will begin from Metro Manila going out to the provinces. So for those of you who are affected, please just make preparations and let us pray that everything is peaceful. Meanwhile, oil spill hit areas receive medical supplies. Yan po dyan sa Mindoro, that was hit by an oil spill by a tanker. The DOH has already made its presence felt through USEC Rosario Vergere, OIC of the DOH, who brought medicines and supplies that could be used once the effects of the oil spill is felt on the foreshore area. Pag-usapan din natin yan with our guest this morning. If you are affected, concerned, or interested in maritime affairs in the Philippines, our guest will be helping us to figure that out this morning. Meanwhile, senators to PNP stop open season on killings. Ayan na po. Pasok na ang Senate and they are now calling on the PNP to do something about the killings that have been happening. Killings of politicians. Medyo iisip kayo, no? Bakit politicians na? Para bang 1972 ang pinapatay, 1971-72, puro mga attacks on governors, mayors, congressmen. History repeats itself. Okay. Meanwhile, CONAS, more practical than CONCON, according to the House Opposition Senior Deputy Minority Leader Paul Dasa has filed his opposition to the proposed constitutional convention because it will cost an estimated 10 billion. That is another deja vu moment for me, because back in the 1970s, they also had 70s, they also had a constitutional convention. Meanwhile, okay, we have a photo of Interior and Local Government Secretary Benhar Abalos swearing in Negros Oriental Vice Governor Carlo Jorge John Reyes as the province's new governor, replacing the assassinated Governor Roel Digamo. Abalos also swore in board member Manuel Sagarbarria as the new vice governor yesterday. And then BBM Anwar seek in-depth talk on Sabah. The Philippines and Malaysia have agreed to hold in-depth discussions on their territorial dispute over Sabah, President Marcos said over the weekend. And Speaker of the House, Martin Romualdez, has recommended firing of all screeners. Ano ito? Pakyawan na. Okay, no? Pakyawan na. Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista should remove all personnel from the Department of Transportation Office for Transportation Security for causing international embarrassment to the country in connection with a series of reported airport thefts, according to Speaker Romualdez. Sa totoo lang po, meron na diyang ABSICOM, meron na diyang PNP, meron na diyang airport police, pagkatas meron pa tayong transportation security. Parang medyo, it kind of makes sense. Okay, last but not the least, we have a photo of the country's premier organization of print and media publication companies, the United Print and Multimedia Group, getting together for the first time in a long time to give awards to advertisers. Ayan po sila. Okay. So that's about it. That's all we have on the front page of the Philippine Star. We now go to our interview for today, a feature on the maritime sector, the maritime industry, with someone who I have actually tested. Baka bagong kilala pa lang, nagsumbong na ako inaksyonan kagad. Meron po kasi nga retiree who told us of her experience traveling in the Philippines, crossing on Roros, etc. And we told our guests about it, and hey, boy, he practically gave me copies of the report. So this is very encouraging. Let's get to meet our guest. Gabriel, roll out the Betamax, please.
Elmer Francisco Sarmiento is the Transportation Department's Undersecretary for the Maritime sector. Prior to this appointment, he served as President and CEO of Royal Cargo, a logistics solutions provider. Sarmiento was named one of the outstanding leaders in Asia by ACES Awards in 2020.
Okay, Undersecretary Sarmiento, good morning sa imo, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Beltran, and good morning to your viewers.
Ay, Cito lang, sir. Para naman tayong hindi magkakilala, ano? Actually, ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know where Secretary Sarmiento comes from, may pagka-hero siya. If you remember the time when a Xiamen jet ba yun? Or Chinese aircraft crash landed on the runway of Naiya, and nobody could pull it out. It was Mr. Sarmiento and the company that he was connected with, Royal Cargo. Injured aircraft. Okay, sandali. Ano nangyari sa atin dito? Nawala tayo. Yun, okay, we're back. Technical difficulty there. Anyway, Yusek, welcome to the program, and Okay, once more with feelings, let's bring in Undersecretary of the DOTr for Maritime Concerns, Yusek Elmer Sarmiento. Yusek Sarmiento, welcome back, sir.
Yes, thank you. Good morning ulit, Cito, and
Okay.
your viewers.
Now, kanina, sabi ko, I was asking you if you could just give us a profile or an overview of what is under your scope of responsibility. Because, as many as we have as in islands, I am sure that your responsibility is equally far-ranging.
Yes, Cito. I am the Undersecretary of the Transportation for Maritime Sector. So, alam mo naman, maritime sector is a big, big thing. And since we are an archipelago nation, the responsibility is quite heavy. And under the maritime sector, we have several government agencies attached to the DOTr. And these are the Philippine Coast Guard. So you can already see the responsibility of Philippine Coast Guard, which includes safety and security, maritime, protection of marine environment, and so on. And then that also includes Marina, which is basically handling shipping and seafarers. And then we have also the Philippine Ports Authority and the Cebu Ports Authority, which are involved in regulation and operation of various ports all over the country. Well, Cebu Ports Authority is confined to the island of Cebu, and is being handled by the Philippine Ports Authority. And also, this includes also as an attached agency supervision over the Philippine the Academy, PMMA, the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, located in Zambales. So essentially, these are the scope of the maritime sector, and we're heavily involved in everything that covers the maritime here in the Philippines. Cito.
Okay, now this position of yours, were you voluntold or was it an imposition? Because you were happily working at the Royal Cargo, an international corporation. Sabi ko nga, kung may aambisyonin ka, yun big time na position na yun. Medyo, what drove you to accept this heavy burden? I have to be honest, it is a heavy burden and sakit ng ulo.
Indeed, Cito. Well, I have retired from Royal Cargo since January of last year. And since then, I became a consultant and also a member of the board of various companies. So yes, indeed, I was really already at that mode, like a retired mode, just resting and consulting. But when the Secretary Jimmy Bautista was appointed as the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, he sought me and he said that I should join him. We're coming from the private sector, by the way, and we've been there for a long, long time. And it's a privilege joining government. So I said yes. I know that the implications of not only hard work in government, but also stress as well. But as I said, working with government is a prized one. It's a privilege. And I think it's about time also to give back the blessings that we had in the private sector.
Okay.
So far, we're doing fine. There were media attacks from time to time, but there were also recognition for a job well done. So we're doing our best. So far, I think we're just up to it.
Okay, now, what is your biggest concern as Undersecretary for the Maritime sector? Because, in a room full of problems, which is the biggest? What is the elephant in the room?
Oh, there are a lot of elephants in the room. Uh, you know, uh, First, of course, is that we should get the recognition of the European, the EC, the
Mhm.
European community, so that we are not blacklisted with regards to their findings, with regards to our seafarers that are manning European ships. Uh, I think that's a priority, and I believe that we have done already our part. We're just waiting for their decision whether they are going to de-recognize us or recognize us. But we are very confident that we're going to be recognized, and we continue to employ, or they continue to employ, our Filipino officers. Well, the other one is the uh, uh, the issues in the West Philippine Sea.
Mhm.
I'm a member of the National Task Force for West Philippine Sea, and I think on a daily basis we are filing protests left and right about encroachment from aggressive foreign countries,
Mhm.
breaching our territory and our sovereignty. So that's also one of the stressful jobs that we have to do. But again, here in Maritime, we get the information, we relay, and we think about how we react.
Yeah.
So far, I think we're doing our reaction is actually not just filing protests, but being transparent to what's happening and declaring to the world a blow by blow job of the things that the other foreign countries are doing to our country.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, you mentioned the European Commission, USEC, and what gives you a lot of confidence that they will react positively to the efforts? Because when I think about it, you've only recently been put in the office, or you've only recently taken the position. Medyo, it's also unfair to you if such a big burden has to be addressed. But you seem to be very confident. What is it that we don't know?
well, you know that our president visited Brussels and met with the president of the EC. He also
Mhm.
met with European ship owners. And here in the Philippines, we made diplomatic briefings to European ambassadors, to EU ambassadors.
Mhm.
And by the way, I feel about our discussion with our counterparts in the EU, they seem to be very supportive. And I think the main basis for our confidence is that the president is taking a hold of this, and the European Union and the European community, I think, recognize that this is already on the highest level of government. I
Okay.
think the intervention of the president is very important.
Okay, but in real terms on the ground, especially with Marina is not is if I hope I didn't get this wrong. You mentioned it's an attached agency. They're connected with you, but they're also independent. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Yes, indeed, that they act on their own because they have their own charter.
Mm-hmm.
But since the secretary, being the alter ego of the president, is the chair of the board of Marina,
Mm.
uh, we the DOTr plays a significant role in the policy making of Marina.
Mm-hmm.
This includes implementations of policies, rules, and regulations governing our maritime sector through Marina.
Okay, now what was the problem? Was it really just pure and simple deficiencies, shortcomings, or did you have to implement with Secretary Bautista some severe house cleaning or radical policy changes to convince the your counterparts abroad that the Philippines means business and is going to be focused on upgrading our seafarer standards?
There are no radical change so far because this may affect the process. You know, one of the uh, areas where the EU findings really have raised is the frequent turnover of the administrator. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in 6 years during the past administration, we have six administrators. Just imagine. So, so on our part with Secretary Bautista, we thought of just working with the current crop of our key officers in Marina, maintain stability there,
Mm-hmm.
and pursue the corrective measures to implement this and avoid repeating these deficiencies.
Okay. Okay, so that's good to hear. Now, in the other areas, you mentioned PPA. Pasensya ka na, Yusek Elmer, yan yung favorite topic ko eh. Yung PPA na yan kasi ang daming nagsusumbong na. But primary concern right now, which was brought up by Senator Risa Ontiveros and has been told to me by a number of mayors actually, is the port charges, fees that are being charged, because the impression that I've been given is that many of our ports all over the country has essentially been are now being managed by private companies. Parang na-privatize yung management, and therefore the fees have more than doubled. For instance, there was a report that in some cases now as high as 2,000%. How true is this, and what is being done to rationalize the fees and charges being collected by port operators?
Yes, port charges. Well, there are a lot of port terminal operators that have requested to increase the port charges, and so far, as one of the mandates of the president to reduce logistics cost, as much as possible, we try not to encourage these initiatives, no, by the port terminals. But the Philippine Ports Authority also has contractual obligations towards the concessionaires who are already operating and managing the ports. And one of these contractual obligations are, of course, the implementation of the concession agreement, which is contained in a ports framework agreement.
Yeah.
These are the terminal operators come from the private sector. They have invested money to upgrade the port, putting in their capital, equipment, and training people. So I think it's also about time that they get paid for it. So the effect usually is, of course, an increase in port charges.
Yeah.
But mind you, Cito, the port charges is a minimal amount with regards to the whole universe of the logistics cost. There are more costs drivers that push logistics costs. Of course, the port charges is one of them, but it's really minimal. And yeah, you mentioned about private sector taking over ports terminal.
Yeah.
Again, you can see that this is already in line, I think, with a current bill decoupling regulation and operation.
Meaning,
Meaning to say that, right now, the Philippine Ports Authority is both the regulator and in some ports, owner and operator of the port. So you just can
Okay.
imagine the conflict there. But so far, under the new framework, it has given a lot of space to the port terminal operator to manage the port themselves, and it's now like a lessor lessee, a tenant.
mhm.
I can say that it's like a tenant and the landowner relationship that PPA just collects the concession fee. I think this is one of the areas where I think a progress has been done to modernize ports, giving this to the private sector rather than the government.
Mhm.
And indeed, it will affect also the price or the cost of the port charges. But again, let me mention also that the port charges have been already in effect since years already, and there were no increases. Some were, I think the last rate increase was way back years ago, 2016, if I
Mhm.
remember it right. Some others 2019. So when this new framework agreement was instituted with the use of the private capital and the modernization of
Yeah.
certain ports, I think it's but fair for us to give a return to these investors who risk their capital for it.
So what changed is the system of operation, meaning the ports will now be turned over for management operation to these investors, and the PPA and the national government will simply be landlords, so to speak. O kolekta lang sila ng upa, and yung mga tenant, bahala na silang magpatakbo. But no actual increases in charges, because when I listen and read, parang meron pa 2,000%, and but there's also this complaint where there is no rationalization. For instance, in the Visayas, the port of Tacloban, apparently, or I could be wrong, no, because hindi ako masyadong familiar in the Visayas. The port of Tacloban pays the same rates as the port of, I think, Ormoc, or one of those ports. While although the port of Ormoc is a 24-hour facility and the port of Tacloban is not. So parang ganun yung example na, Cito, there has to be a rationalization. Bakit pare-pareho kami ng bayad, hindi naman kami pare-pareho ang hours of operation or volume?
We have tiers under this, we call it PTRMF, Port Terminal Framework Agreement. And we have tiers. We have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So if they are on the same tier, the port charges can be similar. That's the direction. But let me also correct the impression that it's not just simply landlord and tenant. The landlord also issues key performance indicators, which the tenant must meet. These are very, very strict KPIs, because we are after the service to the shipping public. The Philippine Ports Authority's mandate now is really to facilitate trade and grow the economy rather than earning for itself. Of course, it's also good to earn for itself, but this is secondary already. And it's very, very important that efficient service and effective service is being done to our shipping public.
Okay, now, so you have key performance index or to-do list. Kumbaga,
Yes.
hindi lang kayo pwedeng umupa, you have to follow this to-do list. Now, okay, my favorite topic, and I'm sure you expected this from me, the port of Matnog and Allen. Kasi sabi ko, whoever is able to clear up that clog, that problem, the corruption, the delay that has been there for decades, pwede na natin gawing second national hero. Okay, Yusek Sarmiento, it has fallen upon your lap. What are we to do about that problem there? Because it is no longer just for congestion, it is no longer just mga kumukotong or gumagawa ng sideline, but apparently now there is a setup where alternate sites are beginning to evolve. In the side of Allen, I received a report from a transit LGU official na Cito, may private pier na dun sa Allen eh. And then I spoke to the USEC, Iringan of the ILG. Sabi ko, kung gano'n, didamihan na natin yung mga pier, damihan na natin yung mga port para wala nang pila-pila. What say you, Yusek?
Well, actually, I also had this experience in Matnog Port and Allen when I was in the private sector because we've been in the Roro business and we've been delivering truckloads of commodities and goods to and from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. But anyway, so I know the problems, and I guess I can also foresee some solutions here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a meeting was held last week by various government agencies, which includes the LGUs, PPA, Marina, OTS, PNP, PCG, all of those involved in the Matnog Port.
Yeah.
And well, as you mentioned, one of the main problems is the port congestion, especially during peak season. And then, of course, boats, the ships, they don't follow schedules. You know, sometimes they are not yet full, they wait. Or if they're full, you know, they don't really follow the minimum turnaround time. Then some truck drivers prefer to board certain ships. And they try to avoid boarding the ships that are in line already for boarding.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this result in delays in loading and long queues in the highway leading to the port. And, you know, Cito, I should be very frank about it. These delays and queues are corruption enablers.
Oh, definitely.
So, you know, so they want to get some people help them, you know, to jump over the queue, become priority, so they pay off. And you know, the problem here is to resolve these issues. Once we have resolved these issues, then we may reduce fixtures and red tape, if not totally eradicate. But I guess we have solutions in hand.
Okay, could I kulit you? Could I nag you and ask you what happened in that joint meeting of government offices and agencies to address the Matnog Allen issue?
They made initial reports on the result of the meeting and made suggestions on how to resolve them. We still have to finalize this.
Mm-hmm.
I will be visiting Matnog Port and Allen next week, part of my itinerary to confirm this initial report and initial solutions. But I think with confidence, and I think this is also a good news for everybody, we have an approved budget for the port, for the expansion of the port of Matnog in the amount of 550 million pesos. And the construction is to start very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully this will reduce the congestion. And also we plan to use the donated 15-hectare property as a truck holding area. This will be part also of the construction. So, you know, that will ease up the port of Matnog. On the other hand, in Allen, there are a lot of ports there, a government port and several private ports. And I think we don't really have issues and problems in
Yes.
Allen, in
Mm-hmm.
the ports of Allen.
Yeah, so what about the suggestion or my crazy idea? I will take credit for the crazy idea na total, ganun naman, there is no problem on the Allen side because there are several ports. Why not do the same on the Matnog side or even before? How difficult is it and what is the basis of putting up the ports? Because like here in South Luzon, where I am in Batangas, the principal port is really the port of Batangas. And after that, you have to go to Quezon province already. People are saying, bakit kasi hindi pag dating sa Laguna may sarili, pagdating dyan sa Quezon, damihan, etc. So that the travel and the road traffic is lighter and is dedicated towards tourism because that's also one of our frustrations, Yusek. There's so many more Filipinos who want to travel in the Philippines, have limited budgets, and they can't fly. They just simply cannot afford to fly. Boats give them a better option. What is your vision in that area?
I think you're right there, Cito. In fact, the original plan is to build another port in lieu of Matnog. So this is an additional port. We have a study on that, and the plan was to construct a new port in Santa Magdalena.
Yes.
A few kilometers from Matnog.
Yeah.
This is in addition to the port of Matnog.
Yeah,
However,
that was on the table before COVID.
It was just recently. Yes, the Cito.
Yes, sir.
I think I lost you.
Go ahead.
But
Go
at
ahead.
any rate, Cito.
Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear you.
let me continue. On the port, on the Magdalena port, we have to shift back to Matnog and expand this and make this much bigger, because it was found out that the Santa Magdalena port cannot happen because of the location itself. It's a fish sanctuary, and we don't want to disturb the ecosystem there. PGU, the provincial government, also suggested to move out from Santa Magdalena and instead expand the port of Matnog. So with this, we have decided to move it away from Santa Magdalena and focus on expanding the port of Matnog.
Okay.
But yes, you're right, Cito, that an additional port would have been much better, but because of this recent development, we have to focus now more on the port of Matnog and get away from Santa Magdalena.
Okay. Well, let's go for a quick break, Yusek, Elmer, and when we return, let's continue with the conversation here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. And before the break, we were speaking with USEC Elmer Sarmiento, DOTr Undersecretary for Maritime Concerns. USEC, you explained to us that the port of Matnog will be expanded based on a donation of 15 hectares and all of land plus 550 million bakanyo na for the project. Now, what are the details of the expansion? Because we need to balance, kumbaga parang NLEX o kaya SLEX, di ba? Parang tollway, that there should be for commercial and there should be for regular passengers or for tourists. How will you address that concern?
Cito, the truck holding area, which is the 15-hectare land donated by the municipality of Matnog, will be a separate area from the port. This will be a truck holding area where the trucks that are queuing up going to the port will be parked, and they are going to wait from there. While on the other hand, as far as the port construction is concerned, this is still under the engineering and design of PPA. We have a memorandum of agreement with PPA for them to make a proper design, and they're also be the one to construct this. That covers also a portion for tourism, as well as for containers, cargoes, vehicles, and I think also consider the convenience of passengers.
Okay, now how will you
behind Cito?
Okay, how will you address the problem of alas puno? I've been writing about that for the longest time, where boats wait until forever, until they're fully, until they're full, or they the operators are happy and let them go. Or is it possible to get roros that are purely for private cars and travelers, and then have roros that are purely for trucks, buses, and commercial, or actually not buses, that buses still fall under travelers, purely for commercial vehicles?
These are one of the plans, Cito. In fact, I'm reading your column, and this gives us also some tips on how we deal with the merchant marine fleet. It's not just expanding the port or constructing a truck holding area. The connectivity is based on ships flying these routes. Of course, we will be selective in the ships that will be sailing, that will cover specifically those cargoes and rolling vehicles for this particular traffic. But let me also add that we also plan to digitalize schedules and ticketing system for not only passengers but also, trucks and other ro-ro vehicles, because at least this will stabilize the queuing and also speed up and make it more efficient on the scheduling of the loading as well as scheduling of ships. We will also be transparent in the schedules as well as freight rates. It's very important, that they should only pay this much and not be up.
Yeah, digitalization is a major concern of the president and of the DOTr, and I think that would really help a lot, because I remember I had a conversation with the DILG group, and I said, if they simply have pre-booking and they have parang yung during the COVID, di ba? Meron tayong online. You get your your pass, your health pass online, etc. And all you have to do is just show it at the booth, and you just drive through and you get on.
Well, that is actually being followed now. What that what they call the PO system, purchase order. So several trucking companies, they issue their purchase order to the shipping lines,
Mhm.
and so they are the priority in loading. So what
Mm.
happens now is that for those that have no PO, you know, and they are not the priority, they look for fixers so that they can queue up and
Yun.
and be boarded. So this also, resulted in the in the in these issues at the port.
Okay.
So we really need discipline, Sito.
Okay, well, I'm sure you're the man to discipline them. Knowing you, maghanda na sila ng kanilang mga puwet. Anyway, Yusek, we have a few minutes left on the program. Actually, 6 minutes to be exact. I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about your other concerns or stuff that, you really want the public to know about.
Thank you, Sito, and thank you for this opportunity to discuss briefly about the plan of the maritime sector here in the OTR. Well, basically, we plan to have a master plan for the development and rehabilitation of seaports and ro-ro ports. You know what they say in India? What works in India is the railway system.
Mhm.
Here in the Philippines, we would like to see that what works here is the ro-ro system. Secondly, we want to ensure the employment of our Filipino seafarers, the continued employment, as well as, the elevation of our seafarers to become officers of merchant fleets.
Mhm.
We also would like, of course, as part of our mandate, is we are now heavily involved together with DTI and ARTA in lowering logistics costs, and we have plans and programs now with regards to lowering the logistics cost, which is contained in our national logistics strategy, which we have presented to the President last December. And another one, which is really very, very important now, is the modernization of our Philippine Coast Guard. We wanted to buy more helicopters, aircrafts, communication equipment, fast patrol boats, multi-role response vessels. And we also would like to locate the headquarters of the Philippine Coast Guard away from its current location right now. But in line with that, if we are going to modernize the Philippine Coast Guard, we would like also to have shall we say, the parking lot for these floating assets. So we have engaged the JICA to study the Subic, where we believe that this is the place for the floating assets of the Philippine Coast Guard. It's really very critical as an archipelagic nation to have a secure coast, and that's for the Philippine Coast Guard. Connectivity, that's for the Philippine Ports Authority. For our continued employment of our seafarers, that's for Marina. And the development of our shipping sector, which includes the overseas and the domestic shipping sector, and that's Marina.
Yeah.
So,
Pasensya na, Yusek. Pasensya ka na, Yusek, but you just ticked something very close to my heart. Development of the local shipping industry. Can we expect the Philippine government to finance, or to help bankroll the development? Because many companies are saying, Cito, unless there is a radical decision to push for developing local shipping, we may get pushed back into the bangka deck generation again.
I must admit, Cito, that this is going to be a very tough challenge for us in the domestic shipping sector. our average age of our merchant fleet is 24 years old.
Mhm.
And our merchant fleets are still using heavy fuel when we have already a target of decarbonization as part of us being signatory to the COP 20, I think 2020, 2022, that by 2050, that's the target of decarbonization. It's going to be very tough. We haven't discussed yet whether we're going to include the funding subsidy for the domestic shipping. As you are aware, we have a very, very tight fiscal space. I think one of the factor that can initiate the improvement in our domestic shipping industry is the entry of foreign investments because in the Public Service Act,
Okay.
we have opened up domestic shipping.
Oh, so they can come in.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
invite them.
Well, Yusek Elmer, I have to apologize, but as interesting as you are as a guest, I only have 1 hour on the show, so I will have to say goodbye for now. But we can always do a part 2. You can always tell us when you're available, and we would be happy to accommodate you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Cito. Thank you also to the viewers for listening and being patient.
Okay, that's Undersecretary Elmer Sarmiento for Maritime Affairs of the DOTr. And let's go to our closing exhortation from the book of Ephesians chapter 3, verses 20 to 21. Now, to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us, to him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations forever and ever. Amen. So yun po, God can give us all of that, whether it's foreign investors, funding. Let's just pray all together and believe in God. Thank you. I'm Cito Beltran. Have a great week ahead of you.